Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this video or this live finds you well and in excellent spirits. So, welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if we're meeting for the first time, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. This channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So, this is the weekly astro forecast for the week of December 23rd through 29th, 2024. All right. So, it's like we're moments away from 2025, right? And the energy, not feeling that good. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's like when I was preparing for this live today, I was like, ugh. And I'm looking at the astrology. I'm like, damn, there's no way to say it other than to call a spade and call it what it is. This is going to be a week that's going to feel tense, that's going to feel frustrating, and that is going to be triggering. Now, I'm not saying that to fearmonger you or to fearmonger, I should say. I'm not saying it because clickbait and I want people to watch this. No, this is the astrology for the week. And it feels like it could almost not happen at like a better time, right? Because it's Christmas week, it's the holiday season, and that can be like tough on its own. And when you add this kind of astrology, it kind of just makes for an uncomfortable time, okay? But there's nothing that the universe does, whether it's make us uncomfortable, whether it's trigger us, whether it's hurt us or even traumatize us even, that doesn't serve a greater purpose. And it's not in this sort of martyr-like way. It's more about giving you the information you need so that you can heal and you can move past things. And that's sort of the flavor of this particular week. All right. So before I get into all of the details regarding the astrology for the week, housekeeping and announcements. So, if you are joining me here on the live this evening, thank you so much for tuning in. Happy holidays. Hello, Monarcha. Thank you so much for joining. If you're watching this live, definitely say hi on your way in and hit that thumbs up button. It's one of the free ways that you can definitely support the channel. It lets the algorithm know that you like this content and so that it can disseminate to other people who may like it as well. Because trust and believe, these messages are meant to reach a lot of people. So if you could help me in that endeavor, that would be amazing. All right. And if you are watching this on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. Hopefully, you get either some enlightenment, some information, some confirmation, some clarity. Hello, Raven. How are you? You get some clarity, whatever you're looking for in this live. I sincerely hope that you find it. And if that is the case, definitely hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell if you have not already. All right. So I'm happy to announce that all of the 2025 yearly astro forecasts are up on the channel. I have the general video and I have the sign specific videos as well. So definitely watch for your sun and your rising sign and let me know how you find the information. Does it resonate? Does it not resonate? Kind of hard to tell at this point because 2025 hasn't happened yet, but let me know if whatever you are hearing seems to ring true for you as of now. All right. And if you're interested, the extended videos are up as well. Now, the extended videos are for purchase if you are a channel member. So you can join the channel membership and you will be able to watch the videos. Okay. That is level guest and higher. Hello, Patricia Jean. How are you? So if you want to join the channel membership at level guest or higher, then you'll be able to watch the videos. But if you're not sure if you want to join the channel membership just yet, the videos are available for purchase on my website as a digital download. I've even bundled them together so that you can watch your sun and your rising sign. And if you want information on all of that, it is in the description box below. And then finally, if you want to take it a step further and know exactly what 2025 has in store for you, then you will definitely want to schedule a reading with me, specifically my 2025 year ahead reading called The Next Chapter. I go through your numerology, I go through the astrology of the year, let you know what important dates you'll need to watch out for. plus the themes that you will encounter in 2025. It is a comprehensive, and when I say comprehensive, I mean it. It is a comprehensive reading that will have you more than prepared for the year ahead. Link is in the description box below, and it is also tagged. All right. So that is everything by way of announcement. So let's talk this week. All right. And I feel kind of chatty today. So this might be a little longer live than usual because I have a lot to say about the astrology of the week and sort of how this week is going to be playing out. Right. So, like I said, this is going to be a week that may not feel the best. Tension, frustration on top of having to be all holly and jolly. Now, this time of year is particularly difficult. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, if you really want, like, from October to February, basically, it can be pretty difficult and pretty triggering. You've got Halloween, which maybe not be triggering, right? But it could be somewhat difficult depending on what you're dealing with. You've got Thanksgiving, then you've got Christmas, then you've got New Year's, then you've got Valentine's Day. It's just like a string of holidays that everyone has to sort of, look happy, look joyous, look festive, spend a shitload of money, especially to make people think that you care, cook these big meals that maybe you can't necessarily afford to do right now, or you don't have the energy to do. Like, this time of year requires a lot of energy, and it requires energy in a way that's sort of like performative, I like to say, because there's so many expectations, right? Especially with Christmas. With Christmas, you're expected to do the things, be holly, wrap up the year with a nice big bow, finish the year strong, go to the parties, get everyone you love the best, most expensive gifts, and treat yourself well. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think that people don't always talk about how overwhelming this time can be, not to mention issues with family. Maybe you've lost a loved one and you're dealing with grief at a time when everyone's supposed to be getting together and being together, right? It's a really difficult time of year. And so many of us, whether it's now, whether it's in the past, we've kind of put on a mask, or we've put on a brave face, or we've sucked it up and dealt with a situation even though we don't want to. And that takes a toll on us. Doing all of those kind of things, it wears you down after a while. And you'll get to a point where you're like, I just can't do this anymore. When your mental health is compromised, when your emotions are all over the place, and you're just like, I don't want to spend another year doing these things and feeling this way, right? And then you have this added sort of pressure of a new calendar year, right? And wanting to change and loving the fact that it's like a clean slate, but maybe not even knowing how to change, how to do things differently, how to finally get the things that you want. And so sometimes, rather than trying to figure it out, you kind of just give up and you enter another year with the same shit. And then the cycle continues, right? No. This is when we break those cycles. And this is one of those weeks that can actually help you do that. But sometimes the way that the universe works, hello, Brooke, Merry Christmas to you as well. Sometimes the way that the universe does that, it's by making you uncomfortable, by having you in situations and presenting circumstances where you are frustrated, where you are triggered, where there's tension, where there can be conflict, where there can be strife. The universe doesn't do that for no reason. The universe does this to point your attention to what matters, what needs to be worked on, what needs to be healed, or in some cases, what needs to stop, right? That I know that this scenario that I'm about to go into, it's not a scenario that is probably not familiar to most of you. Maybe you have family members that you don't get along with. They could be your in-laws, they could be your immediate family, whoever. But there's always someone in the family who's like, listen, we all need to get together because it's the holidays and it's tradition, right? It's tradition, it's tradition, it's tradition. But every year, it's like you have this like flare up of emotions, or, maybe you're older, but you're not married. And Aunt Ethel keeps asking you, well, what, should I get my dress ready for your wedding? And you're just like, yo, shut the hell up. Stop asking me. Or maybe you don't have kids yet. Oh, when are you going to have kids? That yet they don't know that you're dealing with an infertility issue. Like family really gives no fuck sometimes, right? And it's not to say that you really have to chastise them, but you cannot change other people. You can only change yourself. And these instances where you are being triggered, it's like the universe saying, listen, this needs your attention. This needs your attention. Maybe your relationship with this person needs some sort of conversation. It needs some sort of healing. It needs some sort of mediation, whatever it is, right? That tension, that trigger is getting you to realize that you can finally do something about it. Instead of just saying, well, that's just how it is, or oh, it's a tradition, or we always go to this person's house, right? And trust and believe, changing these things, it's not easy by any means. Because what that may look like in reality is I don't, I don't get along with this person, so I'm not going to engage with this, but now I'm alone, right? I'm going to give a personal example. To put it lightly, my family has had some turmoil over the years. And one Christmas, I had to spend Christmas with someone else's family. And it was interesting to say the least. But it felt sad because I'm like, as much as there may be family turmoil, I love my family. And now I feel like a stranger at someone else's house. But in doing that, I was able to sort of see what needed changing, right? What I needed to work on within myself, first and foremost, and perhaps how to deal with my family going forward. Okay. So in the interim, it may look or feel sad. It may look like you're doing something else. It may look like you're deviating. It may look like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this person. I'm not going to go there. When I was getting ready for this live, I was thinking of another example of this. And one of my exes, he is an entrepreneur. And one year he was not doing well financially at all. Like business had tanked and he really didn't have money to get his kids gifts. Okay. And he said he was so depressed. He felt like his family treated him like the worst person ever because he couldn't give them this lavish Christmas that they had enjoyed in years past, right? Because money wasn't doing that. His business wasn't doing that well. So it was like, he said, I felt like a shell of myself. I didn't even feel like I was worthy of anything. And it's like, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's like, because you couldn't buy people presents, you feel like less than human. You feel like you're not worthy, right? Money is an issue that is coming up for a lot of people right now because we've been conditioned to spend the most, even go into debt to get people gifts in order to show them that we love them or show them that we appreciate them, right? Sometimes when you say it out loud, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's how the game is played, essentially. And so you have people who want to do things but can't because money is tight, or maybe money is non-existent right now. And then that triggers self-worth issues, self-esteem issues. I'm a horrible parent because I can't get my kid that PS5 that they want for Christmas. Or we can't go on that family vacation this Christmas because I just, they cut bonuses at our job and bills are piling up. Like this is real shit that people are dealing with right now. And I bring all of this up because these are the things, these kind of issues are going to be exacerbated this week. Right? It's going to be one of those weeks where it's like, fuck, I'm really struggling with this, or I'm really triggered right now and I don't know what to do. Right? So forewarned is forearmed. I always like to say that, but it's like, I don't want to just tell you this information and be like, well, good luck. I'll see you after the new year. No, this is about healing. This is about, you got to sit with the emotions for a little bit. And that can be tough because we don't want to feel this shit anymore, right? We don't want to feel less than worthy. We don't want to feel like we're a bad parent or a bad family member. We don't want to feel like we can't enjoy what everyone else is enjoying. We have FOMO right now, or our situation doesn't look too good, or we're feeling guilty because, you know, we have a relationship that's not going well. That's another thing. And full transparency, this is something that I struggle with. Like seeing people in matching pajamas with their families and doing all of this, like that shit is triggering, right? Granted, a lot of those people who are putting up those pictures, it may not be as happy as they are making it seem, but regardless, they still have it together enough to at least smile for the fucking picture, right? It's like, well, maybe you're in a relationship that's not going well, right? Maybe your partner cheated, or maybe you guys are just growing apart. But now you've got to put on a brave face for society, maybe not even for Instagram or for social media, but for family, right? Because now if you show up to dinner without your partner, well, what happened to him? What happened to her? And then it's a whole can of worms that opens up, and then you don't want to talk your business. Like, you see how everything just snowballs at this time of year? And then what if you've lost somebody, right? Maybe you just lost somebody at a time when everyone is supposed to be happy and jolly and together. That person's no longer here. And now you've got to try to put on a smile when all you want to do is cry, when you're in the middle of grief. Maybe you didn't even just lose anybody, but the holidays are hard, especially when you've lost people that are close to you. When you see the empty spot at the table, or when you can't pick up the phone and call that person. These are real emotions that are really coming up right now and may really come up this week. So, what do you do with all of this, right? First, you've got to feel it, like I said before. You can't just stuff it down. You can't just ignore it. You have to sit with the feeling. What is the feeling trying to tell you? And, sometimes I'm about to go on a little tangent, so get comfortable. So, Um, I love discovering new creators. Well, they're not new creators, but creators that are new to me on YouTube. And there's this guy that I started following that I call him like an accidental motivational speaker because I don't know if he intended to be one, but he is. But he's very like raw, kind of. And he reminds me of like a guy from Staten Island. Okay. His name is Leo Skeppy. He has this whole huge following on YouTube. He's gone on tour and everything. And he just talks about life and what he's been through and what he's learned through what he's been through. And the thing that struck me, and I think I saw this probably 2 weeks ago, he was talking about how, when you're angry, give your anger to God or to the universe or to whomever you believe in, right? God can handle it. So, in that moment when you're feeling triggered, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling sad, literally give it to God. And don't be afraid to have the kind of conversations with God that you want to in that moment. I know I have screamed at God. I've yelled at God. I have told God, what the fuck? Like, I talk to God like I would talk to anyone who's sitting in front of me. Give your anger to God. You have to let it out. Emotions are meant to be felt. It's when you don't feel them and you stuff them inside that they cause even more harm, or they cause harm to you, I should say. So feel what you're feeling. And I would ask God, what are you trying to teach me with this? Like, what exactly do I need to pay attention to? What do I need to fix? And I don't mean fix as in you're broken. I mean fix like what needs to be worked on or healed. And then pray and meditate. There isn't a one size fits all kind of solution because some of us are dealing with wounds we've carried since childhood and now we're in middle age. Others of us have fresh trauma that we're still working through, right? There's no one size fits all solution, but there is a solution that fits for you. And the answer to that is within you. Okay. So you have to Meditate. You have to pray. Meditation is listening, praying is talking. So doing both is like having a full-blown conversation with God or with the universe, right? And start taking action on what needs to be healed. That may require some research. It may require, figuring out, okay, what's the best way to deal with this? Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it is, could be a variety of things. But you kind of have to figure out what works for you. But the most important thing is that you have to do the work. Because you don't want to go into this new year with the same thing, feeling the same way, engaging in the same things, so that next holiday season, you're anxious because you know what's going to happen. You're sad or you're angry and frustrated. That's how you break cycles. But the first step is being conscious of it. And so understand that the astrology of the week and everything that transpires as a result of the astrology for the week is getting you to be conscious of what it is that you need to work on, what needs your attention, what cycle needs to be broken. Hello, respectfully, Cicada. How are you? Yes, what cycle needs to be broken? It's important that you are not only conscious of it, but you are intentional about breaking that cycle and doing the work that's required to breaking that cycle. So again, I say all of this to say that the astrology of the week is going to be a little rough. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. Okay. But it's necessary, right? Think of it this way. If you've ever been serious about working out, it can be tough, right? It's strenuous. It's hard work. It's physical work, right? We often recognize physical work as work because it's visceral. We literally feel it, right? But sometimes emotional work, we don't give it the same credence or the same credit because it's internal, right? And it's not necessarily something that is visible to people. When you work on your body, people see it. It's more easily validated than the inner work or the spiritual work, okay? But the spiritual work, the emotional work, I'm not going to say it's more important than the physical work, but it is as important. So, whatever transpires this week, use it as information. Use it to inform you as to what needs to change. Because now we're about to be at the top of a new year when, even though it is not the natural new year, and I say this all the time, right? We have agreed collectively that it is a new calendar year. So because there's such a collective agreement as to January 1st being the start of the year, it does bring some renewal energy to it because we've given it that power. So we're getting to the point of the year where it's like everyone feels like they have a clean slate. And it's like this week, the astrology, it's like a blessing in that it's saying, listen, I know it's like we're about to have a reset, but these are the issues that still need to be worked on. These are the cycles that need to be broken. This is what needs to change. This is what needs to be healed. So take it as such. And for some, this week may not be that bad. But because of how the week is looking, there's going to probably be at least one thing that triggers you, or one thing that upsets you, or maybe one thing where you butt heads with somebody. And not to mention, well, I'll get into this in the astrology part, but apart from what's going on this week, we still have Mars being retrograde, which is teaching us all about how to deal with anger. We're still in the Mercury retrograde post-shadow period. So Mercury, although it technically is going direct right now, it's not yet back to where it needs to be. So miscommunication can still be a thing, right? And so we've got that to contend with as well. So it's a lot. So above all else, give yourself some grace. Give yourself the space to be by yourself. Okay. It's going to be hard to do this work, this inner work, if you're partying all the time, if you got people in your face all times. I know that's difficult, especially for people who like travel to their families for like the week for the holidays, right? And you're surrounded by people all damn day. I know it can be hard, but carve out some time for yourself to recharge your batteries, to meditate, to pray, to do whatever you need to do to collect yourself and feel what you're feeling. What you're feeling is valid. What you're feeling is informative. What you're feeling is important. That's my disclaimer for the astrology for the week. All right. So now let's get into the astrology for the week and see what we've got going on. All right. And so first, this is the theme for the week. Okay. Tension and frustration are your greatest teachers. Remember that. Remember this. Screenshot this even. When you feel like shit is hitting the fan or you've had enough. Remember, this is teaching you something. Stop in that moment and ask, what is this trying to show me? And no, it's not just that Aunt Ethel is a bitch or she's nosy. What is it within me that keeps getting triggered when she asks me this question? Because think of it this way. If she were to ask you, oh, why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? Like, if you really didn't care about those things, you wouldn't care that she was asking. You would just be like, I don't have them because I don't have them because I don't want them. End of story. Right? But if you want them, or if you want those things, you getting triggered, let me say this, you getting triggered is a sign that you really want these things. And maybe you've been denying the fact that you want them. Maybe you think it's not possible. Maybe based on your past experiences, you're like, it's not going to happen. That's where the issue lies, right? And why wouldn't it happen for you? Is it because you believe that the dating pool is really a cesspool? Do you believe that you're too old to have children, especially if you're a woman? Do you believe that you're too young? Do you believe it's not the right time? Like, there could be so many reasons why, but you need to examine that. Examine that. You know, when you have a tooth that has a cavity and when you drink something that's too hot or too cold, you get that nerve gets hit. Triggering is the same thing. It hits a nerve because the nerve is exposed, right? So what is being exposed for you? Is it the desire and you don't have it? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Examine those things. They're going to be super helpful to you. Like I said, tension and frustration are your greatest teachers this week. All right, let's get into the week. So this is what we've got going on for the week, astrologically speaking. So I want you to take notice of this, right? Almost all of these are squares. That's what makes this week so difficult, is the fact that squares denote tension and frustration. When two planets are square to each other, they are at a 90-degree angle. And then we've got Mercury opposite Jupiter. You've got two opposing things as well. There's only one transit this week that may not feel as hard, but it still has to do with healing. So you might as well just lump it in with everything else. But all of these planets are square to each other. Okay, we've got the sun square the North Node, Venus sextile Chiron, Jupiter square Saturn, Mercury opposite Jupiter, Mercury square Saturn, and Venus square Uranus. All right, so that's why this week is going to feel like everything I just described. Okay, now let's see what the moon is doing. So this week, the moon is strictly in the waning crescent phase. Okay, this is important because it builds on sort of everything I was talking about before. The moon is going to be in the waning crescent phase in Scorpio, honey, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. All right, so with the moon in the waning crescent phase, we're making our way to the new moon, which is happening next Monday on the 30th. Okay. When the moon is waning, that's when we get rid of the things we don't want. That's when we banish. All right. And so you have to know what you don't want in order to get rid of it. Can't get rid of something if you don't know that you have it. And so the energy of the week, it's like you're getting these triggers to let you know, oh, you still have this thing, you still have this wound, you still have this trauma, you still have this hang up. It's time to get rid of it. So the saving grace for us is the fact that the moon is waning, because this is when you can literally banish all of that stuff. Okay. All right. So now let's get into the week, starting with today. So today we've got the sun square the north node and Venus sextile Chiron. Okay. Now let's look and see what this looks like on the chart. So at the upper right hand corner, you will see Chiron at 19 degrees of Aries. The north node is at 2 degrees of Aries. Then in the middle circle, you've got Venus at 19 degrees of Aquarius. And then at the bottom circle, you've got the sun at 2 degrees of Capricorn. All right. So sun square north node. Okay. How this transit is frustrating is that the North Node is where you're supposed to go. And with the North Node in Aries, it's like, listen, this is what I want. I'm really going for it, right? This gives you clarity when it comes to your purpose, your mission, what you're here to do, all of that stuff. And you're motivated to do it. You're motivated to go after it. But then with the sun square to the North Node, it's like your ego gets in the way. Your ego gets in the way, or it's like you realize that it may be difficult or arduous in order to achieve this goal or move into this life purpose. But more often than not, your ego gets in the way. And how does it do that? Well, your ego likes to protect you, right? So your ego could make you be fearful. It could make you be insecure. Anything to sort of keep you away from this destiny, away from this life purpose or soul's mission or desire even. It doesn't have to be this whole spiritual thing. It could literally be, I have this desire, I'm going after it. And your ego is like, no, but what if it fails? Or, oh, I don't know, that's a little too scary. Or, no, this requires you to take risk. And if you take risk, it's probably not going to work out well. So this could be a situation where your fear kind of psychs you out of things. Okay. Or it could also be one of these things where you are optimistic and you're fired up about this North Node, right? This trajectory, this life purpose. But then as you start going, you realize that this is taking a lot longer, or there's a lot of obstacles here, or the road is really long, right? And you kind of just psych yourself out of it. And so there's this frustration between sort of the destination and then the journey to get to the destination. Now, what you can learn from this is sort of where you've been standing in your own way when it comes to things. Are you someone who makes decisions strictly from a place of fear or a place of lack? That could be what's making this journey extra long, or making you feel like it's not safe to take a risk and go after this thing, right? So this particular transit can really show you how you kind of stand in your own way and how your ego may be sabotaging your desire, or how your ego may be sabotaging this journey that you're supposed to be on. Okay. So this is kind of like a personal thing. Now, and I say personal because it's the sun has a lot to do with our personality and all of that. Now, with the sun being in Capricorn, this could have to do with resources. So it could have to do with money. And this plays into the other transit that's happening today, which is Venus sextile Chiron. Now, of all the astrology of the week, this is perhaps the one that's the most positive. However, whenever we're talking about Chiron, we're talking about our wounds and our trauma. And so with Venus sextile Chiron, this is really about perhaps your wounds and your trauma around relationships and money. But how being aware of those wounds and being aware of that trauma, those insecurities and those hangups can really get you to either find the right people to help you, or can really help you get the resources that you need. Okay. So it's like if you know that, let's say that your mission is to have your own business. Okay. But let's say you're meant to open a restaurant or something like that. Now, clearly restaurants have really high startup costs. I mean, unless you're starting up in your home or something like that, but even still, you have to buy equipment, you have to buy ingredients, like you need money up front, and perhaps you don't have this money. And it's like based on the configuration, you're like, okay, I really should take out a loan or get a line of credit. But you're like, "Ugh, I don't want to take on any more debt. I don't want to do this. It's scary." And then you just start spiraling. Oh my God, I'm going to have this much debt. I won't be able to do this. And then before you know what you're thinking, everything negative regarding money. Meanwhile, that's really just your ego keeping you away from your purpose, because without this money, you wouldn't be able to fulfill your purpose. Right. And so that fear, and it could be a fear because maybe you had a lot of debt in the past that you've paid off. And you're like, I so don't want to go back to that place. Right. If you are able to overcome that fear, if you're able to overcome that hang up or that trauma, that insecurity, Venus sextile Chiron is like, okay, so you're able to overcome that. Now you have access to the resources that you need. It's like overcoming that fear brings immediate positivity, either in by way of like relationships, because Venus has to do with relationships, or by way of money and resources. Like I feel like today's transit has a lot to do with money, a lot to do with resources. Could also have to do with work and career because the sun is in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of career and our jobs and things like that. So I feel like today's astrology is really going to be showing you perhaps where you're standing in your own way or what your beliefs are regarding money, regarding success, regarding achievement, even, right? Like successfully achieving your goal and what stands in the way of that. So that's the kind of information that I think today's astrology can show us. Okay. So that's today. Now let's move on to Tuesday. Okay, so on Tuesday, we've got Jupiter square Saturn. Okay. And let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right. So at the upper left hand corner, you will see Jupiter at 14 degrees of Gemini. And then at the upper right hand corner, you will see Saturn at 14 degrees of Pisces. All right. So Jupiter and Saturn, whenever these two meet up, they almost feel like an oxymoron because Jupiter is about expansion, Saturn is about contraction. So when the two of them meet up, they either equalize each other or one of them sort of wins. Okay. But when you have both of them square, it's like wanting to expand, but not being able to. It's like, so this is why I titled this live, or I think I titled this live or put it in the thumbnail, like knowing your limits. That directly correlates to Jupiter square Saturn because sometimes we can have the best plans, right? The best dreams. It's like man plans, God laughs, because that can be a very accurate description of this particular transit because it's this desire to expand, especially mentally, because Jupiter is currently in Gemini. And Gemini is the sign of ideas, communication, transacting business. So it's like you want to do the most, right? But then we've got Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn in Pisces is like, put it this way, Saturn in Pisces is like tying a weight to a helium balloon. If you didn't tie the weight to it and you just let it go, that helium balloon would float into the atmosphere, right? But the fact that you put that weight on it brings it down and keeps it down. So the thing with this transit is that it could be really subtle, okay? Because Saturn in Pisces has everything to do with like our subconscious, with our inner world and the programming that we're running in our inner world. So Jupiter in Gemini is like you have all of these expansive ideas. You're trying to learn a million and one things. Perfect example. You want to learn a new language, okay? And as much as you are trying, you're not getting it. And it's not that you're not smart, it's not that you're not capable, but maybe your subconscious program believes that you can't do it. Has this belief that learning new languages is really hard. Or you have this belief somewhere within you that you're never understood. And so it sort of sabotages your desire to learn this new language, right? Again, this is kind of like a self-sabotage kind of thing where your subconscious programming could almost betray you in a sense because you're trying to do the most and expand your mind and learn new things and talk to different people. Right? Let's say you are trying to overcome your fear of like public speaking or something like that. That would be definitely a Jupiter in Gemini kind of thing, right? You decide to set up a YouTube channel and do exactly what I'm doing, right? And it is not well received. Nobody's watching your videos. You're just like, listen, this isn't working. I don't know what I'm doing. Why did I decide to do this? Maybe you have a subconscious belief that nobody listens to you, or people don't like me, or people have problems with me, right? Which is kind of sabotaging this desire to want to expand and really be out there. So, what is this particular transit teaching us? It's teaching us that we really need to examine what our core beliefs are. Because the thing with our core beliefs is that they can play out in our reality in ways that we don't realize, right? It's not like you're saying, oh, I have a fear, like I have a fear of public speaking. That's why this is happening. No, it's happening because you believe that people don't like you. And so if you believe that people don't like you, then people are not going to tune into your YouTube channel and they're not going to watch your videos. That's not the only reason why, but our outer reality is shaped by our beliefs. So this particular transit is getting you to really audit your subconscious beliefs. And how do you do that? You just look at your reality. You look at what's happening. You look at what's transpiring right in front of you. Let's say you have a desire to want to get married, right? But your partnership sucks right now, or you're not even coupled. Let's take it all the way back there, right? Maybe you have a subconscious belief that all men cheat, or all women are gold diggers, or relationships are hard, or love doesn't come easy, or nobody loves me. Do you think that you're going to have what you want if your subconscious is playing, nobody loves me, nobody loves me, nobody loves me, nobody loves me? That's why I said it's subtle, because it's not like you're saying that. You're like, oh, I'm fine. But because you never healed from the wounds that you have, your subconscious, it's like an old record that just keeps playing on loop, playing on loop. And now you get into relationships and they fall apart. You get into relationships and you still feel lonely. You feel unloved. That's showing you what your subconscious beliefs are. And so again, that's what this particular transit is teaching you. What program are you running? It's just like your computer, right? What software version are you running? Are you running, Mel version 1.0 in the year of our Lord 2024? No, you need to be on version 16 already, right? So there's this subconscious programming that needs to, or reprogramming that may need to take place for you to fully expand and grow and develop as Jupiter wants you to. So this transit is going to show you your limits. It's almost like you're going to be going forward and boom, there's a hard stop, or there's a detour, or you can't go any further. You're going to be like, well, why is this happening? Look within. That's where the answer will be. Okay. That's Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, Christmas Day, we've got the waning crescent moon in Scorpio. And it's like, if this isn't the fucked up cherry on the horrible cake, I don't know what is. And I'll explain that in a second. But let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right, you'll see at the left-hand corner in the red circle, the moon will be at 0 degrees of Scorpio on Christmas Day. All right, so why do I call it the fucked up cherry, like the horrible cherry on the fucked up cake? Is because when the moon is in Scorpio, that's when all your repressed emotions come up. This is intensity. It's intense, repressed emotions. And because we're in the waning cycle, we're in the waning phase of the moon, this is like all that shit just coming up. It's like moon in Scorpio is like when we regurgitate shit, our repressed emotions. But I like this for us though, because of what I said before. It's like you got to get this shit up and out. You're not going to be able to get it out if it doesn't come up. So, yes, Aunt Ethel is going to ask you the same fucking question she does every year, right? But this is going to be the year like, fuck, I'm not listening to this anymore. Please don't curse her out or cause a fight or anything like that. But this is the time where you're like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I feel like the moon in Scorpio is going to have you feeling this shit hard. Whenever the moon is in Scorpio, things get very intense. Intense emotions, repressed emotions, trauma, all of the ugliness, the emotional gunk that we've built up comes up. And on Christmas, on all days, right? When you're supposed to be like opening your presents and getting with family and doing all this shit, like, watch what happens when people get drunk. I mean, anytime people get drunk, right? They say, a drunk tongue speaks a sober mind or something like that. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to be experiencing a lot of that because people are going to be probably at their boiling points or at their wits' end, especially if they're being triggered in the moment. All right. So be mindful of like violence. Scorpio energy can be violent. It can be volatile. And you push the wrong button, and that's like pushing the button on the nuclear bomb. Okay? So emotions can erupt. Wounds can be reopened. Trauma can resurface like pet cemetery. Okay? But again, it's informing you. And I know in the moment, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this or make this seem like, oh, it's so easy. I know in the moment the last thing you're thinking about is what lesson am I learning? I know in the moment you're like, fuck this bitch. Why does she keep asking me this? Why is this happening? Why is the universe trolling me? Why does it feel this hard? Why is this year like this? Why do I feel this way? Yes, in the moment, ask all those questions. Like I said, give it to God. Ask God, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening? What do you want to show me? I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. Yes, give it to God. God can take it. God's actually been waiting for you to offload all of that. So do that. Okay. And then realize that, okay, this is some emotional gunk I've been holding on to, or this is some emotional gunk that I started working on it, but I haven't finished, or this is emotional gunk that I thought I healed, but this is another part of it. This is a different facet of it. Again, all of this is information. So take it as such and be easy with the eggnog. Do not get into fights. If you feel like you want to hurt somebody, take a walk, go outside, take a breather. I mean this with 100% sincerity because tempers are going to flare. We still have Mars retrograde, and that's making everyone aggy, frustrated, angry, right? Take a breather, do what you need to do, and regroup. But understand that when you have a moment, when you've calmed down, understand what it is trying to show you. Okay. So that's Wednesday. So now let's go to Thursday. On Thursday, we've got Mercury opposite Jupiter. Okay. So Mercury is currently in Sagittarius and Jupiter is currently in Gemini. All right. So let's see what this looks like on the chart. So on the left-hand side, you'll see Mercury at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. And opposite that, you will see Jupiter at 13 degrees of Gemini. All right. So Mercury opposite Gemini. I'm sorry, Mercury opposite Jupiter. So Jupiter is a positive planet, okay? I talked before about it being expansive and all of that. Even when it's in an aspect such as an opposition. Now, think of an opposition, it's like a tug of war, right? Even when it's in opposition to any planet, it still has a fairly positive kind of connotation to it. Like it can usually work itself out in a positive kind of way. And that's still true. Mercury opposite Jupiter could bring good news and things like that. Now, what you have to be mindful of is the fact that while Jupiter expands, it can definitely be concerned with excess. And when it's in opposition to a planet like Mercury, that's like over promising and under delivering or exaggerating or even lying, right? It is a big lie. It is stretching the truth, right? And how can this be frustrating? Over promising and under delivering, right? This really plays into sort of how many of us feel at this time of year because there's so many expectations. There's so many expectations when it comes to people, when it comes to gifts, when it comes to money, when it comes to everything. Everything gets overinflated at this time of year. Even prices get overinflated at this time of year. Everyone expects this magical holiday season. And I am no exception. I feel like every year I'm like, this Christmas is going to be different. Yeah, I'm going to do this and that and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like that shit doesn't happen. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to have another Christmas and doing the same shit, right? Feelings of being let down. And that can be very triggering, especially if we've had holiday seasons, especially as children, right? Where you've been let down, where things haven't panned out how you wanted them to. Where someone promised something to you and didn't or couldn't deliver, right? Like my ex who was talking about how he couldn't give his family that Christmas that they were used to and how it was such a letdown, right? I guess the lesson in that is like have lower expectations, essentially. I don't want to say rein in your expectations, but kind of rein in your expectations. Understand that everything about this time of year is a fantasy, and we are sold this fantasy. We're sold this fantasy of beautiful feasts with our family, right? But the way that the groceries are priced right now, maybe dinner is looking a little, scantier this year. Everyone is together and happy. Maybe your family is dysfunctional. And no, everyone is not happy. Maybe your uncle and your cousin always get into a fucking fist fight every holiday season. Yeah, that's not shit you want to put on social media. I mean, unless you like negative views, right? Love is in the air. Everyone's getting engaged at this time of year. Right. Okay. Maybe they are. Maybe they're doing it for the gram. Maybe he went into so much debt to get that ring that they can't even get a wedding. Or maybe this is some kind of business deal. I've heard of people who be doing this shit because it's like a business deal for them, right? Just because you see it doesn't mean that it's true. Everyone's living their best life. Everyone has the most money right now. Okay, maybe that's not your story. But understand that we're being sold a fantasy right now, and you don't have to play into that. It's okay to feel kind of bad about it, right? Because we're human. But don't allow it to make you feel like you're less than if you don't live up to these standards. If you're not able to do all of these things, maybe even if you were able to do them in the past. It's okay to be where you're at right now. Doesn't mean that you're going to stay here forever, but it's okay to be where you're at right now. And then try your best to not overpromise and underdeliver or exaggerate. I mean, exaggeration is another thing because sometimes we just, people ask us things and we want to seem like we're doing better than we are. So this particular transit lends itself to lying or being fake. And there's more than enough of that to go around But at this time of year, people want to save face. So understand that that's what it could be. And understand that you don't have to do that. You don't have to engage in any of this. You don't have to make it seem like you're doing better than you are. It's okay to be where you're at right now. You don't have to put on a mask or play some kind of role just to fit in with everybody else. Because guess what? These people that are exaggerating, they're probably not the happiest. So, words of the wise. That's Thursday. Let's move on to Friday and see what we got going on there. All right. So, Friday, Mercury square Saturn and the waning crescent moon in Sagittarius. So we've got a lot of Sagittarius energy on Friday. All right, so let's see what this looks like on the chart. At the upper left-hand corner, you'll see Saturn at 14 degrees of Pisces. And at the upper right-hand portion of the chart, you will see Mercury at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. All right, so, and the moon will also be in Sagittarius on that day. All right, so we move on from the hellscape that is the moon in Scorpio, and we move to the moon in Sagittarius, which is a lot lighter, right? Which is a lot more optimistic. Okay. So the intensity of Scorpio will have waned at that time, and we move into Sagittarius. Now, Mercury square Saturn, with Mercury being in Sagittarius, this is also a transit that's really going to show you your limits. Mercury in Sagittarius wants to think big, wants to have big plans, wants to think far ahead. But Saturn in Pisces is kind of going to be like, okay, you have this dream, but this is your reality right now. And what this transit is teaching you is that your circumstances don't matter. They don't matter for a variety of reasons. The most important being that what you see right now is what your thoughts have been like. So if you don't like where you are now, this is just an amalgamation of the thoughts you've had in the past. And now that you know that, now you can change it. And Mercury in Sagittarius is the perfect placement in order to change your mindset and to think bigger and to think more optimistically, especially since Mercury is coming out of retrograde. It's this energy of, okay, so things were a little wonky for a little bit, but now I have my sights set on this. It gives you optimism, but don't allow your reality to deter you from taking action toward the things that you really want. Okay. Because your reality could be a little fucked up right now. You're like, okay, like let's say you're a business owner. You're like, okay, I want to do a 6-figure year next year. Meanwhile, you're barely making $10,000 right now. Fuck the fact that you're making $10,000. That's irrelevant. That was when you had a certain mindset. Now, Mercury in Sagittarius is like, well, listen, we are doing a 6-figure year, come hell or high water, and then allow spirit to guide your steps so that you know exactly how to fulfill that. So this is another transit, like I said, that will show you your limits. Okay, so definitely keep that in mind. And then the moon is going to be in Sagittarius, which is going to give us optimism, going to get us to see the bigger picture, and will get us to divest ourselves of anything that isn't in alignment with that bigger picture or anything that isn't in alignment with our expansion. Okay, so divest yourself of anything that keeps you small, that keeps you boxed in, that keeps you limited. The tail end of the week, specifically on Friday, is going to be perfect for that. Okay, and then now let's move to Saturday. Saturday, we've got Venus square Uranus. All right. And this is somewhat of a different kind of flavor. Okay. This is what it looks like on the chart. Venus is currently in Aquarius, and you'll see that at the bottom left-hand portion of the chart. And then Uranus is in Taurus, okay, which is at the bottom right-hand portion of the chart. And Uranus is currently retrograde. All right. So Venus square Uranus is going to show you where you have been stuck. Venus in Aquarius wants to take you into the future. Venus wants to really improve your relationships, improve your money, improve situations in your life so that they're more fair and equitable so that you can take that into the future. However, Uranus in Taurus, specifically the fact that Uranus is retrograde in Taurus right now, it has you feeling very, it's almost like you have a war going on inside you. right? And essentially this transit is showing you where you are stuck because Venus square Uranus, it's almost like this feeling of wanting to rebel. It's this feeling of wanting excitement, of wanting to, deviate from your regular routine, right? And if you find that you're met with resistance, that's showing you where you are stuck. Now, where you are stuck could be a physical place, it could be a mindset, it could be a relationship, but this particular transit is going to have you wanting to break free, wanting to be free, wanting to experience something different. And the most sort of the most common battleground for this particular kind of transit is relationships, since Venus is the relationship sign. And so, to give you an example of how this works, you've been in a long term relationship, and either it seems like it's going nowhere or it's just this repetitive cycle of doing the same shit. And when this transit hits, you're like, I want to do something different. Or maybe, this particular transit is great for cheating. It's great for like stepping out on a relationship because if you're stuck in a relationship, it's going to have you feeling rebellious and having you wanting to experience some excitement, AKA like an affair or something like that, right? So the mere fact that you are feeling excited, that you want to veer away from this regular routine can show you perhaps where this routine is keeping you stuck, where it's keeping you stagnant, right? And with Uranus in a sign like Taurus, Taurus is the sign of stuckness. Taurus is the sign of stability. You might want to look at where Taurus is in your natal chart. This may clue you in as to where you are being stuck. Maybe it's a certain mindset with respect to money. Maybe it's a certain friend group that's keeping you stuck and keeping you from going into the future, right? So that's the lesson. And that's what that particular transit is going to show us, where we're stuck. And that could come in the form of triggers, right? Like, let's say you want to buy a new car or buy a home or something like that, but your credit sucks. Your credit is what is keeping you stuck. Now you have, of course, that's information that you probably already know. That's not like news to you, right? I'm pretty sure if you have bad credit, you know that you have bad credit. But why do you have bad credit? That's really what's keeping you stuck. The bad credit is just a symptom of a deeper problem. Like you have money management, you don't pay your bills on time, you are reckless with money, whatever it is. And then even further, why are you reckless with money? Are you like, is shopping your therapy? Are you someone who's not really knowledgeable about the energy of money, how it really works for you? Do you use money as a coping mechanism, right? There's deeper issues that are keeping you stuck. So don't just stop at, oh, I just have bad credit. You have to do a further examination. But again, the information is going to show you where you are stuck. All right, that's Saturday. And then we close out the week on Sunday with the moon moving into Capricorn. And the moon is going to be in the waning phase, the waning crescent phase to be exact. Let's see what this looks like on the chart. You'll see at the bottom portion of the chart, the moon will be at 0 degrees of Capricorn. And then on Monday, the 30th, it will reach new moon status when it joins up with the sun. All right. So in that waning phase, this is going to be when we divest ourselves of anything that we do not need, that does not contribute to our success or a successful completion of something. It's like with Capricorn, Capricorn is all about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's all about reaching the finish line. And if you're running a race, like let's say you're at a track meet, right? And you're running a race, right? You know that you got to go straight until you reach the finish line. You're not going to run into the bleachers, then go into the parking lot, then go, like that would make no sense because that's taking you farther away from your target, from the finish line, right? So anything that's not in alignment with that finish line, you divest yourself of it. And the thing with Capricorn, though, it requires a certain amount of discipline. Okay. Capricorn, it's hardworking, it's a disciplinarian. And so it may take some discipline, right? Perfect example, you want to lose weight. Hard as fuck to do during the holiday season, right? With all of the food and all of the drinks and all that stuff. But with the waning moon in Capricorn, it's like put that eggnog down, put that ice cream down, put those Christmas cookies down. That's like running a race. And instead of running toward the finish line, you're running backward or you're running to the parking lot. Stay on track and stay on task. Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, will reward you for doing so. All right, my loves. And that concludes the astrology for the week. I know it seems kind of doom and gloom. I know it seems like it's going to be heavy during a time that's already kind of heavy. But again, use what comes up at this time as information so that when we have this collective clean slate, you know what needs to be worked on, what you need to divest yourself of, what you need to finally heal from so that you can successfully move forward. All right, my love. So that concludes this edition of the weekly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you're able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into this week and beyond. My loves, if you celebrate the holidays, I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. As intense as this may be, understand that above all else, you have my love, sincerely. And I'm so thankful for you. All right, my loves, have a great week. And I will see you in my next video. Take care.